that we are in the transition from the before the AI times to the after the AI times. And everyone, every role and every organization is going to have to make this transition at some point. It's here. It's only going to become more powerful and influential in our lives. And just similar to like the transition from before the internet to after the internet, it would be impossible to run your organization and your business or just your life in any way like without the internet. Like I sometimes am nostalgic for even like the pre-cell phone days of like just leaving the house with just like a flip phone or maybe not even that. And I wonder if maybe in the future we're also going to be nostalgic about the like before the AI times. I'm convinced that AI is going to change the world, and we're never really going to be the same again because of this technology, which seems to be most technologies. We invent something and then it oftentimes doesn't go away, except those 3D TVs. They didn't make it. So is this going to be for better? Is this going to be for worse? Like any paradigm shifting technology, I think likely it's going to be both. And so we need to be talking about both. We need to be thinking about what are the ethical and responsible, what's this ethical and responsible adoption look like? Where are we going to be intentional about where we say yes to this technology? And where are we going to be intentional about where we set boundaries? There was a great discussion last week about using AI-generated images of people and whether or not in your marketing or anything that you're doing, like those people don't exist. And so are you misrepresenting someone? And so I kind of think I might set my own boundary where it's like, I'll use AI to maybe make graphics or vector images, but I don't know. I sent a proposal out to someone and I didn't feel very comfortable with putting like AI generated images of people in there. And so one question about when you're thinking about where to say yes and where to set boundaries for this technology is how is that even possible if you don't understand the technology? And so part of what I want to try to help educate people on just like, what is this technology and what does it do? Because not only we have to set these boundaries now and say yes and no to this technology, but that will change over time as well. So it's important that you understand this technology so you can even make informed decisions about it in your life and your work. And the more I use it, the more I realize it's going to be really important that you use your judgment and your critical thinking. I'm more and more convinced that critical thinking is never going to go out of style. And in fact, it's even more important than ever because for two reasons. One, it's going to be a lot harder to distinguish what's true and what's AI generated on the internet. There was a major shift happened last week with a huge update to the image generation models that are available to everyone, where you can now very easily make something that's basically indistinguishable from real life. Or at least at like a scroll. Like if you're scrolling, if you inspect it, maybe, but how many images do you see on the internet where you're really digging in, or how often are you just scrolling? And then the other reason I think critical thinking is going to be really important now and in the future is that our role when using this technology is often to curate good content, right? AI will generate things for you, and then our job is to determine, is that good? Is it actionable? Does it communicate what I'm trying to communicate? Like our level of abstraction just went up. Instead of creators, now we're almost like curators of content because you don't have to actually do the typing and the creating yourself. Just want to say hi to everyone that's new. I'm Kevin. I'm not going to skip my like little intro, but my main mission is to help nonprofits adopt this technology. I look around at the planet right now and I'm very concerned about the environment and about equity, more concerned than I've ever been. And so my mission is to help amplify the positive impact that nonprofits are making by helping them adopt this technology to serve more people, or more simply put, help the helpers just serve more people. And so what you're here today for is the AI Essentials series I do each week to train people on the latest technology and really be actionable and practical with this technology. So what we're going to do today is we're going to learn about what are AI assistants. I'll use the word AI assistant and custom GPT interchangeably. We're going to look at how you can find some existing assistants that are just available. We're going to look specifically at nonprofit specific assistants. You're going to learn a framework for building your own and then have the opportunity to create your own. So what is an assistant? What is an AI assistant? They're trained, an AI assistant is an AI chatbot, essentially, that's trained to do a specific task. Or it can be trained for a specific person or a specific organization, and it can be trained to write in a specific way. And so let's talk about each one of these for just a second, right? If it's trained to do a specific task, oftentimes when you go to ChatGPT and you just go to a blank page, you have to train it on what it is that you want to do. And so when you pre-train it, every time you go to that conversation, it's going to know this is the task I want it to do. I'm going to dictate a story and you're going to turn it into a newsletter. I'm going to give you a bunch of data and you're going to turn it into a report that I can use for grant funding. You don't have to train it over and over. Why might you want an AI that's trained for a specific person or a specific organization? An example of this is I train an AI assistant on all the details of my nonprofit. And then when I go to write a grant, I say, hey, AI that's trained on my nonprofit, can you dig in and tell the grant applicant, application question is about like what's your mission and vision? Well, it's already trained on that. So you just say, hey, write a 5-sentence description of our mission and vision. Great, it has that. Maybe it's trained on the impact that you've had. And so when a grant question comes up of like, demonstrate the impact you're having, you can go and use that AI rather than retraining it over and over on you and your organization. And then trained in a specific way to write. This one's really important because AI will write anything that you want in the format that you want to write it. And so you have to tell it how you want to output it. Is this a project plan written in bullet points and sections? Is this an email? Is this a social media post? And so it can be trained on best practices in that type of writing. So example, an AI that I use all the time that I wrote for myself is a professional introduction email writer. It takes a while to write a good introduction email between two people, but it's really high value because you are providing value for both the people that are going to get to meet. And so now what I do is I just pull it up and I say, hey, I need to introduce these two people. I talk about the first person for a little bit. I talk about the second person for a little bit. I talk about why they should meet. It goes in and pulls from the template and best practices and just gives me a draft, right? So what used to take 45 minutes now just takes maybe 2 minutes of me talking. So where do you find GPTs or AI assistants? So we're going to go to ChatGPT and we're going to look for just existing ones that already exist. So if you pull out your sidebar here, you can see these are all assistants that I've built for myself. But if you hit Explore GPTs, then you go to the GPT store. And inside the GPT store is going to be lots of big companies that have built GPTs. And so there's one for Canva, there's one for Wolfram Alpha, which is probably amazing. These are ones by officially ChatGPT, so a personality experiment, you may or may not like it. Let's try this. There's a little meme going around. Let's see. Let's analyze. We'll talk to it here. Oh, and a new feature for y'all that is brand new, which is awesome. This dictate function is brand new. It used to have a plugin or some sort of other dictation, but finally they put it in the interface, so I'm just going to see if it works. I want you to take everything that you know about me, and I want you to try to make an AI image of what you think I look like. Let's see. We'll see what this comes up with. While this is running, okay, based on the conversation, I don't feel obligated to read everything. I just want the image. Make a picture of me. While that's running, we'll go back and just look at some more GPTs that are available. So inside of here, productivity ones, research. So if you do a lot of like research, the Scholar GPT will go and look at like PubMed and pull summarizations and stuff from different like science reporting. So that's really useful. Stuff for math solving. What's one that I like? Anything to do like with an Excel training can be nice. So there's Excel AI, and this can help you like write Excel code. Tell me how to do a V lookup table. I've not tried these. Mostly I write my own. It's one of those things where like once you know how to do it, very rarely do I go and find something else. So this is some examples of how to do Excel, and it's actually giving me the actual code that I can do. And then I could troubleshoot this with, say, hey, it didn't work. Here's why it didn't work. Can you help me fix it? And it'd be like, oh yeah, here's how to fix it. Let's go and see what this image of me. Okay, but first, procrastination. I don't know about this. Thinks I procrastinate, and I'm much messier than it doesn't know about my plant fixation. So that's where to find pre-existing GPTs. They can be really useful. That's a fun place to explore. There's ones for another really useful one that I like are these ones that do like flow charts. Is I'll describe some sort of like operating procedure, or maybe I need an org chart, or I'm doing something with like programmatic stuff and I want to make some sort of diagram. I just describe what I want, like this node connects to this node and this connects to this and this branches out to these things and this has a loop back to here, and it will basically take your written or your dictation and turn that into a pretty effective little chart. So if you just want to whip together a quick chart, that can be pretty useful. Okay, so that's where to find them. Just to be clear, ChatGPT has a built-in AI assistant library. So this is all within ChatGPT. So if you're hearing on the internet and people are trying to sell you like GPTs or custom assistants, everything they're selling you is just built on top of ChatGPT. So they have access, these companies have access to the API, which you can do like ChatGPT stuff with, and then they package it up a little different and they put their own flavor on it, and then they try to sell it to you. So one of the reasons I suggest for most folks, you start with just learning ChatGPT, like the base itself, is because you'll be prepared to use anything that's built on top of that later. So you're learning the skills that will be most useful later. Okay, let's try one out. So I showed some of the existing ones, but actually let's just go right to the custom ones. So a lot of my work is to create custom assistants for others and myself. And so some of my favorites are an idea organizer, I use this all the time, a storyteller, and a SOP generator. These are ones that I use pretty often. I find in general, the more boring, the better use case for AI. So if you're doing something like copywriting that has like a lot of human nuance into persuasion writing and stuff like that, or you're trying to write, something that's creative, sure, AI will say that it does it, and you'll look at it and you'll be like, it's not that great. But when you give it more information and you ask it to like organize the stuff that you give it, it does a really good job at that. And it also does a really good job at like just really boring stuff. Like right now I'm working on a 40-page document. It's a housing market analysis, and it's very boring text. It will crank out boring text all day, every day. So let's use the idea organizer. So I'm going to go into my GPTs. These are all the ones that I've created for myself. Some recent ones are I can take just a boring form document, strip all the personalized information, and turn that into a template. That's really useful. This networking note taker assistant. Let's use this one. So how this one works is, this is really great. You're in some sort of networking event and you get a business card from someone. You chat with them for like 10 minutes. What's the old way, right? I would like get my pen out and I try to scribble a few notes being like, okay, they mentioned that they want to work together, and I told them I would do something, that I would call them next week, and they mentioned something about like they got a new puppy, right? Now what do? I like talk to them for 10 minutes, I get their business card, and then I go find a little like corner to hide in for just like 30 seconds. I pull out my phone, I pull out my networking note-taking assistant, and I would say this. Deb, I'm going to use an example. I just met Deb at a networking event, and she said she was really excited in learning how to use AI to also amplify nonprofits. She also mentioned that she got a brand new puppy and it's driving her wild. And I said that I would call her on Tuesday of next week because Monday we're off for a federal holiday. Go ahead and create a little synopsis for me to follow up. So I'm just making stuff up, but you would actually fill in your actual details. And then what it does is it just creates a little kind of summary of what we talked about, when we talked, who it is, what my follow-up action items are. And then if I do this multiple times, just go back to my computer and this is just sitting there waiting for me, right? So then I actually go and follow it up. If you want to get even next level, we can take this and put it automatically into your CRM and automatically into your task management project, but that's kind of some next level stuff. Let's try the idea organizer. This is one of my probably most used is the idea organizer. So I'm going to go to my GPTs. I need to load a bunch of them because I write a lot of these. This one's a writing emulator, so I write like Rachel. I have a friend named Rachel. She's a great copywriter, so I took a bunch of her writing samples and made an AI that writes like her. Here's my own personal email writer that's trained to write like me. Let's keep going. Where's the idea organizer? I need to organize these better myself, actually, because I'm starting to get so many. Okay, there's the idea organizer. Okay, so I'm going to just start talking about a random idea that's in my head about contacting community foundations. I was recently talking to a foundation leader and a nonprofit executive director, and they said that it could be good for me to reach out to local community foundations because community foundations often have resources for capacity building grants and nonprofits they want to support in capacity building. And so what I want to do is I want to use deep research to find all the local community foundations in my area, and I want to be able to find what their mission is, the contact information, and a little bit about previous philanthropic giving to make sure that they're a good person to reach out to. I also want you to, in that deep research, I'm going to score them from 1 to 10 on how much community training that they offer, and then I want to also write an email, and this will be your task, write an email to introduce myself to these community foundations. So I have some idea. Maybe I'm driving, maybe I'm walking in the woods. Are you going to work? Oh, maybe it didn't work.
Don't click the X, it'll go away.
Okay.
It's not there, yeah. It's been flaky today, Kevin. I'll just tell you, I've had all kinds of problems with ChatGPT myself.
Thanks, Deb. We'll try it one more time. I'll be a little bit more brief. I recently had an idea to reach out to community foundations about doing some capacity building for AI training around nonprofits. I want to do a deep research project to find local nonprofits, and then I want your task will be to write an email to introduce AI as capacity building for a community foundation. There we go. And so what's it do? It takes all the information I give it and puts it into like an organized, okay, here's the objective, here's my target audience. It's just kind of organizing the information that I gave it. It also specifically pulls out any action items that I gave it, and then it also suggests action items. So here's the action items I gave it, and it said, here's some suggested action items. Create a research template for gathering consistent data. Not a very good idea. Draft a list of community foundations to target. Okay. Develop a one-pager. Probably should do that. And then lastly, it gives me questions for me to consider to continue to develop this idea. So it's reverse prompting. So normally I'm prompting the AI and telling it what to do. Sometimes it can be really effective to have the AI ask you questions for you to consider to think more deeply or from a different perspective. Now, are these all great questions? No, right? That's still where your judgment comes in of like, oh, I already thought of that, or that's not a good question, that doesn't apply. But you might get one in there that's like, oh, that is a good question. I didn't consider that. Let's answer these questions and then continue to flesh out this idea. What capacity gaps do nonprofits in your target area commonly face that AI could help address? Great question, right? Okay, so those are a couple of my GPTs. The SOP generator, this one's great where somebody in your organization knows how to do something, right? And it's just kind of like living in their brain. And what you can do is just have them describe the whole thing and then like a few seconds get like an organized document of what the steps are and who's responsible. And so when you're thinking about adopting AI, it's first important that you understand what it is you even do so you can learn what steps to put AI in, where humans are going to need to be in the loop, where's you're going to get the biggest benefit. Because one of the challenges with new organizations that are adopting this is they just get overwhelmed with the possibilities. Like they have thousands of ideas of like, I want it for this, this, and this, and this. And my thought generally is, how do you start with a quick win that frees you up the most amount of time right now from something you're already doing so you even have the capacity to do more advanced AI stuff? You can't adopt AI if you're just like constantly like trying to like keep your head above water. So what about specifics for nonprofits, AI assistance? So everyone in the nonprofit world kind of wants these three things, right? AI for fundraising, AI for communicating the impact that they're having, and AI or just board communications, right? So AI can be used for all of these. So for fundraising, what that looks like is doing oftentimes deep research. If you don't know what deep research is, we'll just do one real quick because it takes about 10 minutes to run. So if you have a $20 a month version plan, you have this option for deep research. When you turn it on, it goes from what's on your mind today to what are you researching? And I'm going to potentially work with a new local nonprofit here. So I'm going to do a deep research specifically for grants for them. So let's do a deep research project. I need to do a deep research project on grant opportunities and good corporate partnerships for a resource pantry and food pantry in Worthington, Ohio. And so I want you to research what small and medium-sized grant opportunities could be available for this type of organization. And I also want you to research local corporations or people that would have access to food and resources that may be interested in in-kind donations and have a history of philanthropic giving in our area. So when you do deep research, it always asks for a few additional questions. So I'm just going to answer a few of these and then I'll go off and do research. Yes, the organization is a 501c3 organization. We're looking for food and hygiene and clothing, actually not clothing, but yes on school supplies. Looking for grants under $20,000. We want to focus specifically on the Columbus area, and you can just look at all corporations that might be a good fit for this. So I tell it some stuff, and then it's going to say, I'm going to begin doing research. And it's going to actually start going on the internet and doing research and then compiling that together into some sort of report. So we'll let that run for a little bit and then come back and check on it. Other ways you can use it for fundraising is like donor communications, with the caveat of anytime it's externally facing, you want to be extra careful with what you're sending out, because you don't want to damage your relationships or your reputation with these people. You've spent all this effort building this relationship, and it can be ruined if you're sending them stuff that's inappropriate or like clearly AI generated. So yes, you can potentially help with writing fundraising emails and marketing, with very much human in the loop of checking and making sure it meets your criteria for what you're willing to send out. Impact story. This is one I actually use, again, for myself all the time. So let's go ahead and use it. So a lot of organizations, you have lots of things you're doing, right? And you want to tell everyone about it, right? Your ability to communicate the impact you're making is directly related to how many people want to get involved and give you money. And if you just kind of hide behind the scenes and you don't externally broadcast what it is you're doing, then nobody knows who you are, and it's harder to make an ask when you need resources. And so why aren't you sending 3 social media posts and 2 newsletters a week. With all positive stuff, not even asking for stuff, but just saying like celebrating your wins, celebrating the community that you're helping. It's just a lot of work, right? So if you go to the nonprofit impact story, this is one that I wrote, and I use this for my own copywriting too. And it's just, it takes what you give it and it writes it into a very conversational tone. So I'm going to tell it all the details about what I'd want to put in this impact story, and then it's going to rewrite it for me. So I'll use the same resource pantry as an example. I want to celebrate a big, something that really big that happened in our organization. We just launched a new building with the help of like major philanthropic local supporters. And we moved from a 2,000 square foot facility to a 10,000 square foot facility in the last 2 weeks. And we are inviting local community members to come and see the new facility and show them what type of bigger impact we can make in the community and how we can not only accept more resources, but make sure that we can get those resources to the people that we need, that need them, because we can just process and we have more volunteers available as well. So go ahead and just write like a positive story with an announcement about our new success. So you're hearing me just make these kind of things up. You know what you actually want to communicate to these people. So here's what it says, right? Hey friend, big news. We just moved into our brand new facility and it's more than just a building. It's a promise to serve more people, reach further, and make a bigger difference than before. Until two weeks ago, we were doing all this work from a 2,000 square foot space. Now we've expanded 10,000 square feet of possibility. That's 5 times the room, 5 times the capacity, 5 times the impact. And we didn't do it alone, right? This is not bad, right? Now, would I send this out to my people without editing it? Like, hell, no, of course not. Is it a good start to help start to draft this into like, okay, let's do another couple of rounds of edits with AI, and then the final round of edits is with your fingers. That's kind of the workflow when you're using AI. So this is a great one as well. I'll go ahead and put this one in the chat for y'all to capture if you want. Where's Zoom, chat? Oops, too many windows open. There we go, chat. There we go. I have not been following along with the chat. Make sure I can see what's going on. Okay, let's go back. Okay, but your work, right? Like I'm saying, these are some generic ones I built, but your work is ultimately unique, especially if you want an AI system that's really trained on you and your organization and the work that you're doing. So oftentimes you need to make your own. So I have an AI assistant framework to make it easier. And at the end, I'll show you how you can just use AI to help make AI assistants. So what you want to include when you're telling an AI assistant what to do is you need to tell them what the goal of the conversation is. What do you want to achieve? So it just knows from the beginning, this is like kind of what we're trying to do work on together. What is the role of the AI? So I often say, you are an expert blank. You're an expert data analyst. You're an expert copywriter. You're an expert fundraiser. You're an expert whatever, right? What's the role that the AI is taking on? Now, to be clear, does this mean that the AI will have all the expertise of a real expert that's a human? No. What it means is that the AI is going to try to write as if it were that sort of expert. It doesn't actually have the real knowledge, but it will try to emulate it in the best way that it can. So if you said you're an expert kindergarten teacher that is an expert at making kindergarten lesson plans, now does it have all the knowledge of an expert kindergarten teacher? No. Will it try to write in a way that is for kindergarten lesson plans? Yes. What are the rules you want to follow? Both, yes, I want you to do this, and no, I don't want you to do this. What are the step-by-step instructions? So you can oftentimes be multi-step. So I have an AI assistant that helps create events for small nonprofits. And so step 1 is, what's the name of the event? Step 2 is, who's the audience? Step 3 is, let's create some taglines. Step 4 is, let's do some descriptions. And then step 5 is, let's create all the collateral. The emails, the Facebook page, the landing page, like it will create the kind of the marketing package. And so it's a multi-step process. And then this is kind of most important. How do you want it to actually write? Is it in bullet points? Is it an email? Is it a legal letter? What's the style and the outputting format? And also, it's really important that you include examples. So if you have examples of templates or examples of existing work that you've done, especially if you're an organization that has a history of already creating documents, you can give it those examples as long as they don't have personalized private information in there. And this is really important. You can tell it all the instructions that you want, but AI is really good at emulating things. And so when I'm doing a writing replicator, when I'm trying to emulate somebody's writing, I take a bunch of their writing samples and I run it through an AI to tell me what's their writing style, and what's their lexicon choice, and what's their sentence structure, and what's their tone, and what person, are they first person or third person, how many line breaks. That I get all that information, and then I also give it all the writing samples. If I just give it the instructions, it does okay. If I give it the instructions plus the examples, the output gets much closer to what I want. There's a bunch of text here. What are delimiters? At the start of every GPT that I create, I put this block of text in, and I'll just put this in the chat for y'all to copy. So a delimiter is just a set of rules to make it easier for the AI to understand what it is you're even saying. So if you actually look at this, it's just a set of instructions. Delimiters are markdown language used to donate different sections. Treat each section under a hashtag as an interconnected but separate section. So it's just a way to organize information. And so I use these hashtags as kind of organizers of information. And then what do I actually put in there? This is the actual framework that I use. Goal of the conversation, the role of the conversation, the rules, the step-by-step instructions, and the outputting format. So if I pull up this is my prompt library that I have. And so these are all the GPTs that I've built. And each one of these has a set of instructions. So if I go inside of here, here's this initial, template at the beginning. The goal of the conversation. The goal of this conversation is to analyze a transcript from a virtual or in-person meeting and extract key details and insights to create a summary of the call for future reference, as well as extract action items. That's the goal of this, right? What are the rules? What are the step-by-steps? So it goes through this process that I want it to go through. Okay, but I hate typing. It's 2025. I never want to type anything again anymore. I don't want to do it, right? So a lot of times I do type these out. How to make it even easier? I made an assistant that makes assistants. And so usually in the last 2 weeks, I've been creating a lot more of these as my work starts to get more intense. It's what's that old... the old saying from Abraham Lincoln, give me 4 hours to cut down a tree and I'll spend the first 3 hours sharpening the axe. Kind of immediately, I'm I know I'll do this again. I'll just make an assistant. I don't want to spend the time. I'm going to have to make it anyway to get the task done. So I might as well just build it into a GPT so I can just start to link these things together. Okay. So anyone that's in the chat, if you want to throw in an idea of something you've been thinking as I'm talking, oh, I need an assistant to do this. If you give me a suggestion, we'll make one together. And I'll show you how it produces it. So give me an idea, and if not, I'll just make something up. Trying to think what
could it be one where you can get an assistant to help you with administrative work?
Administrative work is great. That's kind of where we want to actually focus a lot of our effort with AI, is the boring administrative work that we're stuck doing that's eating up our time and our energy and kind of life sucking. So what comes up for you, Marie, when you think about administrative work?
Just organizing contacts, scheduling meetings, kind of that stuff, responding to folks.
Great. So let's do a quick one on how to, or just emails to schedule a meeting. That's one that I could use. So we'll go to ChatGPT. I'm going to go into my GPTs. And at the end, I'm going to show you actually where to put all this information to create one. So first we're going to create one. So where's my assistant, AI assistant builder? And let's go ahead and tell it what we want. I need to make a new AI assistant, and this assistant is going to help me schedule meetings with people. And so what I'll do is I'll use this assistant when I need to schedule a virtual meeting, and this assistant will help me write the email that I would send to someone to schedule a meeting, request a meeting. I want it to be fairly concise because people don't like to read much these days, and so it should be very direct. I also want to use the email best practice where the thing I'm asking for is at the top of the email rather than the bottom of the email, because if I put it at the bottom of the email, people are just reading the email wondering what I'm going to ask them for. And so I want to make it really clear that I'm asking for a meeting, a little bit of context about why, and then a link to my meeting calendar invite link. Let's go ahead and start building out this assistant together. All right, so I gave it some random instructions. It's probably going to ask me some additional questions. What type of tone? Will it always be requesting the meeting? Yes. So let's answer those questions. I'd like it to be a friendly tone, but also professional. These will be professional meetings. And yes, it'll always be me. My name is Kevin, and I'm an AI consultant that's supporting nonprofits in their AI adoption and doing AI training. You don't always need to include that, but just for your reference. Okay. And then I could give it what I would normally do if I had more time is I would go and look in my emails and see all the emails that I've written where I want to actually do this task and feed it those as examples and say, like, this is what I write like. So let's go ahead and give it one more little set of instructions. Okay, so we're going to say, I also want to include a template for an email to make sure you have a fair amount of repeatability. Can you write a draft as a template and include it in your set of instructions? All right, so we'll get, I think, a full set of instructions here, if it generates, that is. Elise is saying in the chat, I need an assistant to talk to artists about my projects. And then they upload an example of their work, and then it will make suggestions on how to make it a playable installation and give them a concept image of it to submit to be selected to enter into my project, specifically upload through my website sign-up form. So I think what you're talking about, Elise, is, let me see if I can regenerate this first before we go. Let this run. A little bit of what you're talking about is an automation. If you want something to trigger based on a form, that is like an automation that you use Zapier or Make.com for, or one of these other like no coding platforms. So that might be like the first step. You can definitely use AI to do now like industrial design sketches with your input. So you can be like, I need an industrial design sketch. Here's an input of what this picture looks like. And then you describe how it would do it. And then it could be trained on kind of like your design style and then create something that's a little bit more consistent. Okay, so let's take all of this. And this is how I'd actually do this, is I would go into my prompt library and I would create a new one, page. And so this is meeting request AI assistant. Put it all in here. And then, so this, I keep this as just a copy, so that way I always have my own copy. So if anything happened to ChatGPT, I wouldn't lose all my assistants. And then I can take, how do I actually create it? So you go up to my GPTs, and creating GPTs is only for paid users. Free users can use existing GPTs, but to create your own custom requires the $20 a month plan. So I'll go create GPT. Up here at the top, you have create and configure. I never use this create version. I only go to configure. I'm going to name it, and I'm going to name it meeting request email writer. What does it do? Writes emails to request a meeting. I put in my instructions here. I can also give it a little AI generated image that it will make based on what it has in the instructions. At the bottom, I can turn on web search, Canvas, and DALL-E. DALL-E's the image generation. I don't think I need that. I don't think I need the Canvas, but I will keep the web search on in case I want to go and research, go out and pull contact information or an about from the internet. So we'll hit create, and now I have the option, is this only for me? Is this someone with the link? I can share it, or is this public to anyone that wants to search in the stores? I'll write an email to Lindsay. I want to write an email to Lindsay requesting a meeting. I want to say that I'm so appreciative that she comes to every single week of the AI Essential series, and I want to learn more about how I can support her and her organization and her mission to reduce animal testing. So I don't need to put that much in there. Here's a polished email. Now, here's the real question. This is always what it comes down to with AI. Is it good? I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to decide, would I send it, right? Hi, Lindsay. Would you be open to a quick virtual meeting? I really appreciate you showing up every week for the AI Essential series. I'd love to learn more about how I can support you, your organization, your mission, and your mission to reduce animal testing. Here's the link to my calendar so we can grab a time that works. It's not bad. It's not atrocious. One little thing is I now kind of hate these long dashes because they are a very clear signal that something's written by AI. That opens a whole new other question about when do you disclose and should you disclose, and at what level of AI use should you disclose, and under what circumstances do you close if you're using AI or not. So there's lots of new ethical questions about using it and disclosing. But in general, I'm not using a lot of these M dashes anymore because of it. I would say make it a little longer and a little more friendly. Again, another best practice when using AI is to give it feedback, right? Would you be open to a quick virtual meeting sometime soon, right? I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I can work with it a couple times. Okay, that's info on how to make them. And so I have a way to support and fast track nonprofits. And so what it is, it's a discovery session to figure out what is it really that you're trying to achieve, and where are the frustrations. So really looking at what's the tedious, time-consuming work that you dislike, that needs doing, it still needs doing, and what is the highest value work that you love, that you wish you could do more of. And so we look at how to use AI to lower the amount of tedious work so you can spend more time doing the work that you love. Almost always, the answer to that question is spend more time building relationships, serving the community, expanding the programming, finding new corporate partnerships, big stuff and human-to-human stuff, and less I need to do this grant report and submit to this foundation by Friday, otherwise I don't get paid in 2 weeks, and I'm under threat of not having enough funding. And so first we figure out what it is, and then I teach you to enable your team. And so it's multiple sessions. I'm doing right now a case study, and so I'm discounting the price significantly because of that. So I'm doing a case study where I'll ask lots of questions before, and I want to be able to show what is the measurable impact, what was the old way of doing this, and what's the new way of doing this. And so that program is $2,000 currently for these custom sessions to help support you. So if you think that you'd be interested in that, you can send me a message, and we can talk about how to work together.